Laziness is not sleep. It is not rest. It is the silent erosion of the warrior spirit. Miyamoto Musashi warned that the greatest enemy does not arrive with a blade. It arrives as comfort, as delay, as the voice that says, tomorrow. This story begins where excuses are born inside a young warrior who believes strength will come when motivation appears. He trains when inspired, he studies when convenient, and slowly, invisibly, his edge dulls. In a remote mountain dojo, far from praise and distraction, a ruthless master carries an ancient system forged in blood, solitude, and relentless discipline. He does not inspire, he does not encourage, he eliminates weakness at the root. Through silence, deprivation, repetition, and brutal honesty, the apprentice is stripped of his ego-driven illusions. Fear surfaces, resistance fights back, laziness reveals its true form, not as weakness of the body, but corruption of the will. Musashi's code is not about talent. It is about posture toward life, an uncompromising path where discipline replaces motivation, presence replaces comfort, and strength is built whether one feels ready or not. This is not a story of becoming extraordinary. It is a story of removing everything that makes a warrior ordinary. And once laziness is destroyed at the root, the spirit becomes unbreakable. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe so I can keep bringing you great content. Chapter 1. The Comfortable Enemy. The mountain was silent, but it judged everything. Each step upward stripped the young warrior of breath, yet not of ego. He climbed with ambition burning in his chest, believing effort itself was proof of strength. Sweat ran freely. Muscles strained. In his mind, this was discipline. At the summit stood the dojo, aged wood, darkened beams, no banners, no symbols of glory, nothing invited admiration, nothing promised reward. The master waited. He did not bow. He did not ask the warrior's name. He only said, "Leave what you brought, especially what you believe about yourself." From that moment, comfort began to die. No weapons were given, no training schedule explained, no praise offered. Instead, the warrior was assigned tasks that felt insulting in their simplicity. He swept clean stone that gathered no dust. He stood motionless under the sun until his legs trembled. He carried water from the stream only to pour it back where it came from. Every task demanded effort, yet none offered visible progress. His body complied. His mind rebelled. This isn't efficient. This doesn't matter. Real training comes later. The master observed in silence. Days blurred together. Sleep shortened. Meals thinned. Rest was never guaranteed. And slowly something surfaced. Not exhaustion of muscle, but resistance of spirit. The warrior noticed how often he slowed without instruction. How often he softened effort when no one watched. How often he negotiated. "I'll push harder tomorrow. I've earned a pause. This level is enough." One evening, as the warrior rested longer than required, the master spoke for the first time in days. "Laziness," he said calmly, "is not the absence of action. It is the search for comfort inside action." The words cut clean. The warrior had always imagined laziness as weakness, as doing nothing, but here he was, constantly moving, constantly busy, yet compromised by subtle surrender. He began to see it clearly. Laziness lived in delay and half-effort, in the need to feel ready. The master continued, "Comfort does not oppose discipline, it corrupts it." Modern science echoes this ancient truth. The nervous system is designed to conserve energy, to avoid discomfort. The mind invents reasons to stop before the body fails. Fear hides inside logic. Ego protects itself through explanation. The master looked directly at the warrior. "You do not lack strength," he said. "You lack obedience to the moment." That night, the warrior lay on the hard wooden floor, sleep refusing to come. His body ached, but his thoughts were louder. He replayed moments from his life training abandoned halfway, goals delayed, effort rationed based on mood. He saw how often he had waited for motivation like permission from the self, and a brutal realization surfaced. Motivation had always been the excuse. Comfort had always been the master. By dawn, the mountain felt heavier, not because of the climb, but because the enemy had finally revealed itself. It was not pain, not effort, not discipline. It was negotiation. The warrior rose without instruction. He returned to his task before being called. Not faster, not harder, just without argument. For the first time, action moved ahead of emotion. The master watched, said nothing, The path had begun, but mercy had not. Morning arrived without ceremony. No bell, no call. Only cold air cutting through the valley. The warrior rose before the sun, not because discipline had become natural, but because hesitation now felt heavier than effort. His body still resisted. His mind still searched for softness. Yet something had shifted. He no longer trusted his own explanations. The master noticed. That day, the tasks changed. Not in difficulty, but in exposure. The warrior was sent alone into the forest with one instruction: return before nightfall. No direction, no time marker. No reassurance. The path was narrow, uneven, disappearing into fog. Halfway through the climb, fatigue crept in. Breath shortened. Muscles tightened. And then it came, the familiar voice. You're conserving energy. Pacing yourself is smart. There's no need to rush. The warrior stopped, not because his body failed, but because the voice sounded reasonable. That was when the master's words returned like a blade. Comfort disguises itself as intelligence. The warrior stood still and watched the thought instead of obeying it. He noticed how excuses did not shout, they whispered. They arrived calmly, dressed as logic, pretending to protect him. Psychology confirms this ancient insight. The mind resists discomfort by rationalizing avoidance. Fear does not always appear as panic. It often appears as explanation. The warrior moved again, not faster, just forward. By midday, the forest grew dense, light dimmed, sound softened. With no witness and no consequence, the temptation returned stronger. No one would know. You've done enough today. Rest is earned. This time the warrior felt anger not outward, but inward, not at effort, but at the pattern. He saw clearly now, excuses were not reactions to difficulty. They were defenses of ego. Each one preserved an image, the image of someone reasonable, controlled, deserving comfort. He remembered the master's words from long ago. Responsibility ends the moment excuses begin. The warrior sat down not to rest, but to observe. He watched the urge to stop rise and fall like a wave. He did nothing. No suppression, no indulgence, just presence. Minutes passed, the urge weakened. When he stood again, something remarkable happened. Movement felt lighter, not because fatigue vanished, but because resistance had. By the time he returned to the dojo at dusk, the master was waiting, unmoved. "You were late," the master said. "Yes," the warrior replied. "Why?" The warrior opened his mouth, then closed it. For the first time in his life, no excuse felt honest. The master nodded once. That night's speech was forbidden. Silence returned, not as punishment, but as pressure. Without words, the warrior faced his own narrative stripped of defense. Thoughts arose demanding explanation, justification, story. None were answered. Silence did what effort could not. It cornered the ego. Under silence, excuses collapse. They require an audience. They survive through repetition. When unspoken, they lose structure. Neuroscience aligns again. When verbal justification is removed, self-regulation strengthens. The brain shifts from narrative defense to direct experience. By the third night, something hardened inside the warrior, not tension but resolve. He no longer waited to feel willing. He moved when action was required. When discomfort arrived, he did not argue. The master finally spoke. An excuse is a decision made without courage. The warrior bowed, not out of obedience, but recognition. Laziness had not been defeated yet, but it had been exposed. And once seen clearly, it could no longer pretend to be truth. The next lesson would go deeper beyond excuses, beyond logic, into the cold machinery of discipline itself. The mountain grew quieter. The path grew narrower. The third phase began without announcement. No ceremony, no explanation, only repetition. Only repetition. Each morning mirrored the last. Wake, wash, work, train, eat, sleep. The tasks were identical, the hours unmarked, praise absent, correction minimal. The master removed urgency, drama, and reward with surgical precision. At first, the warrior waited for intensity to return. He expected challenge to announce itself through exhaustion or pain. Instead, he was given monotony. Sweep the courtyard, carry water, stand in stillness, strike the post 1,000 times. Again, and again, and again. By the fourth day, irritation surfaced, not physical but emotional. His body obeyed, but his mind rebelled. What is this building? What is the point? This should feel meaningful. That was the trap. The master observed silently as the warrior's energy fluctuated with mood. On days when emotion aligned, effort felt light. On days when it didn't, each task felt like weight. That evening, the master finally spoke. "Emotion is weather," he said. "Discipline is climate." The warrior did not understand yet, but he would. The following week, training intensified, not in difficulty, but in indifference. The master gave no reaction whether the warrior performed well or poorly. Success was not celebrated. Struggle was not acknowledged. The ego starved. Modern psychology confirms this ancient cruelty. When external reward is removed, behavior reveals its foundation. If action depends on emotion, it collapses. If it is system-based, it endures. The warrior noticed something unsettling. On days when he felt motivated, he performed inconsistently, rushing, overexerting, losing precision. On days when he felt nothing, his movements became stable, exact, repeatable. Emotion had been sabotaging him. One night, exhaustion pressed heavily. Muscles burned. Breath shortened. The old voice returned, not with excuses but with emotion. "You've done enough. You deserve rest. Tomorrow will be better." The warrior did not argue. He did not resist. He did not motivate himself. He moved anyway. Something changed in that moment. The action felt empty. No pride, no fire, no resistance. Just motion, clean, efficient, silent. That was when the master stepped forward. "This," he said, "is discipline. Not force, not desire, not inspiration. Action without negotiation." The warrior began to see clearly. Laziness did not require inactivity. It thrived in emotional dependency. When action waited for feeling, feeling became the gatekeeper. Musashi warned of this centuries ago. The warrior who depends on emotion becomes predictable to himself and to others. His strength fluctuates. His will fractures. The system the master was building did not allow fluctuation. Training became mechanical by design. Each movement stripped of flourish, each task executed regardless of internal state. The warrior stopped asking how he felt before acting, and in that absence something profound emerged. Presence. Without emotional noise, attention sharpened. The warrior felt subtleties he had missed before: the angle of his wrist, the timing of breath, the balance of weight. Precision replaced effort. Neuroscience again echoes the old code. Emotional neutrality improves motor control and decision-making. When affective interference drops, performance stabilizes. By the end of the month, the warrior no longer identified with motivation. He did not feel disciplined. He was disciplined. The master spoke one final time that week. "Emotion is a tool," he said, "but never a master." The warrior bowed. He understood now. Laziness was not defeated by passion, nor conquered by inspiration. It was dissolved by systems that functioned without permission from feeling. But one final weakness remained. Even without emotion, the mind still sought noise. The next lesson would remove even that. Silence awaited. The silence began before the warrior was ready for it. No warning, no farewell. One morning, the master simply took his voice away. From that moment, instruction ended. No corrections, no affirmations, no explanations, only presence. The dojo changed when speech vanished. The creak of wood grew louder. Breath echoed in the chest. Each footstep sounded like a confession. Without words, every movement exposed intention or the lack of it. The warrior discovered quickly that silence was not peaceful. It was confrontational. Thoughts grew aggressive. Am I doing this correctly? Is this enough? Why is no one guiding me? Without answers, the mind panicked. It searched for reassurance, for structure, for permission to stop caring. This was the master's design. Silence is pressure. It does not soothe weakness. It crushes it. The warrior's will wavered during the first nights. Without feedback, doubt multiplied. Without praise, effort felt invisible. Without correction, insecurity gnawed. That was when laziness returned, not as rest, but as hesitation. If no one is watching, does it matter? The warrior felt the temptation sharply. No eyes, no judgment, no voice to enforce discipline, only choice. Silence revealed the truth. No punishment ever could. Discipline enforced externally dies the moment authority disappears. The master did not intervene. He watched from a distance, unmoving, like stone. By the fourth day, the warrior understood what silence demanded. Self-command. He adjusted his posture not because he was told, but because imbalance felt wrong. He refined his movements not for approval, but for internal alignment. The mind, starved of stimulation, began turning inward. And there it was. Fear, not fear of pain. Fear of effort. Fear of continuing without certainty. Silence stripped fear of disguise. Modern neuroscience confirms what warriors learn through blood and time. Constant stimulation masks discomfort. Remove it, and the nervous system exposes unresolved tension. Silence forces regulation. The warrior began to breathe slower, not deliberately, but naturally. Without distraction, awareness anchored itself. His attention stopped scattering. It became heavy, rooted. The master finally approached one evening. "You are hearing yourself now," he said softly. Then he returned to silence. That night, the warrior sat alone beneath the darkened sky. No task, no movement, just stillness. His mind resisted at first, searching for action, but eventually it tired. Thoughts thinned, urgency faded, the need to escape weakened. In that quiet, the warrior felt something unfamiliar. Resolve, not emotional, not loud, not dramatic, solid. Silence had sharpened it. By the following week, laziness no longer argued loudly. It whispered faintly, uncertain of authority. Without emotional leverage, without external excuses, without noise, it weakened. The warrior moved through his routine with minimal thought, not robotic, intentional, calm. The master observed the change. "You no longer need words," he said. The warrior bowed. He understood now, silence does not create strength. It reveals whether strength exists. And his was finally forming. The next phase would test it under repetition so relentless that only a hardened will could endure. Consistency was coming. The master did not announce the change. There was no ceremony, no escalation, no dramatic trial. The days simply stopped being different. Morning followed morning. Cold followed cold. Work followed work. And it never changed. The warrior trained when his body felt heavy. He trained when rain soaked the ground and wind burned the lungs. He trained when boredom pressed harder than fatigue. The routine did not bend. The schedule did not negotiate. This was deliberate. The master finally spoke as they walked the mountain path. "Intensity impresses the ego," he said. "Consistency destroys it." The warrior felt the truth immediately. Bursts of effort had always given him identity. Long days without recognition stripped it away. There was no moment to feel powerful. No peak. Only continuation. This was where laziness fought hardest. Not with refusal, but with suggestion. "You did enough yesterday. Rest would make tomorrow better." This effort isn't visible. Laziness did not demand surrender. It asked for adjustment. The warrior noticed how reasonable it sounded. That was the danger. Musashi's code did not allow flexibility of will. The master taught that comfort survives through small compromises, not collapse. Miss one step, delay one task, justify one shortcut, and discipline fractures. So the warrior stopped evaluating. He woke when it was time. He moved when it was required. He worked until completion. No emotion attached. Modern behavioral science mirrors this ancient principle. Consistency rewires identity faster than intensity. Repetition without emotional dependency trains the brain to act automatically, reducing resistance. The warrior felt this change. Action became quieter, less dramatic, more inevitable. He stopped checking how he felt before beginning. He stopped expecting satisfaction after finishing. The work existed independently of mood. This was ruthless consistency. The master removed all markers of progress. No rankings, no acknowledgement, no milestones. "You are not here to feel improvement," he said. "You are here to become inevitable." The warrior understood then. Laziness thrives when effort seeks reward. Remove reward, and only discipline remains. Weeks passed. The warrior's body hardened subtly, not visibly impressive but reliable. His mind stopped questioning duration. A task ended when it was done, not when motivation faded. There was peace in this, not comfort. Stability. Ego faded quietly. Without praise, it starved. Without comparison, it weakened. The warrior no longer measured himself against others or even against yesterday. He simply showed up. The master observed him one morning as snow fell silently. "You no longer argue," he said. The warrior bowed. Consistency had removed the internal debate. Laziness no longer negotiated. It had no leverage against routine. This was the ancient system at work. Not heroic, not inspiring, unstoppable. The master warned him once more. "This phase feels invisible," he said. "That is why most fail. Strength is not loud while it is forming." The warrior carried this truth deeply. He realized that mastery is built in seasons where nothing seems to happen, where effort accumulates silently, where quitting would feel logical but continuation forges will. By the end of the cycle, the warrior no longer needed supervision. The routine lived inside him, and that terrified him more than exhaustion ever had, because the final test was coming. Freedom. And freedom reveals whether discipline is real. The master did not wake him. No bell, no command, no schedule posted at dawn. For the first time since arriving, the warrior was not watched. The mountain was quiet, the dojo empty, the tools untouched. Freedom had arrived. This was the final trial, not endurance, not pain, not obedience. Choice. The warrior stood alone in the cold air. No one would punish him for resting. No one would correct him if he stopped early. No voice would remind him what to do. This was where most failed. Laziness does not need permission when no one is watching. It returns softly. You've earned rest. One morning will not matter. No one will know. Musashi warned at this moment. The master once said, "When discipline requires supervision, it is not discipline. It is fear of consequence." The warrior felt the weight of that truth now. He noticed something different. There was no internal argument. The excuses appeared, but they were weak, transparent, familiar tricks that had lost authority. He bowed once to the empty dojo. Then he began. Not fast, not dramatic, without thought. The body moved because it was time to move. Breath followed rhythm. Hands performed their work without emotional charge. This was not motivation. This was identity. The warrior understood the final principle of Musashi's code. The strongest will is silent. It does not convince itself. It does not debate. It acts. Freedom had exposed him, and discipline had survived. Later, the master returned. He said nothing at first. He watched the warrior finish his routine exactly as before. No improvement displayed, no flourish added, no pride revealed, only completion. The master finally spoke. "You no longer ask whether you feel like acting." The warrior nodded. "That question," the master continued, "belongs to the undisciplined." Modern psychology confirms this ancient truth. Behavior precedes belief. Identity is not formed by intention, but by repeated action under no supervision. The warrior had crossed that threshold. Laziness had lost its final weapon, the option to negotiate. The master offered no farewell speech. "You will return to a world that celebrates comfort," he said. "It will reward ease and excuse. It will call discipline obsession." The warrior listened. "Say nothing," the master added. "Let your consistency speak." There was no ceremony, no declaration of mastery. The warrior descended the mountain as he had trained, quietly, deliberately, without haste. The path ahead was longer than the one behind. But now, there was no resistance within him. He would wake when it was time. He would act when action was required. He would endure without complaint, not because he was strong, but because he no longer argued with himself. And that is the warrior Musashi described. Not fearless, not perfect, unnegotiable. Laziness doesn't die for motivation. It ends when a warrior stops negotiating with himself and makes discipline his identity.